Pack your bags and join us for an epic 41-day road trip from New York to Arizona. Along the way, we'll explore incredible destinations, ride amazing bike trails, and overcome a few camping challenges, but that's all just part of the adventure.
And off we go.
Our first stop was the Blend of Seven Winery, where we feasted on meatball calzones and participated in a wine tasting. It was pretty cold the next morning, so rather than run the furnace, we started a little space heater we had on board. We didn't think about the fact that we were boondocking, and when we turned on the coffee maker, we blew the power in the RV. We had to call Thor's customer service for some ideas on how to get back on the road, but it only delayed us by about an hour. In St. Louis, we couldn't wait to explore the St. Louis Riverfront Trail. It's a 12-mile paved path that leads to the iconic Gateway Arch, the nation's tallest monument, towering 630 feet over the Mississippi River. Along the way, we pedaled past towering flood walls adorned with murals that tell stories of the city's rich heritage, and followed in the footsteps of Lewis and Clark. At the trail's northern end is the old Chain of Rocks Bridge. Spanning over a mile across the Mississippi, the bridge is distinctive 30-degree bend, and elevation is 60 feet, making it a must-see, especially for Route 66 enthusiasts. After our bike ride, our plan to visit the St. Louis Zoo to see one of the top 3 penguin exhibits in the country hit a bump, literally. A flat tire just after crossing the McKinley Bridge turned our focus to getting a spare and finding a replacement. So we're heading for the Hard Rock in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it's going to be 98 degrees. Great night for boondocking. The next morning, we took a ride on the River Park's East and West Bank trails. I forgot my camera handlebar mount, so we had to improvise and bungee my camera to the handlebars. When we got back to our RV, we couldn't get the steps retracked, so Randy had to tie them up for the rest of the trip. Our night in Amarillo was less exciting than we'd planned because by the time we got done fixing the steps and our morning bike ride that we couldn't do the night before because it was so hot in Tulsa, we didn't have anything we could do but set up camp and go to sleep. In Santa Fe, our plan was to ride the Santa Fe Rail Trail, but we went to the rail yard instead and had a beer and something to eat. We took a day trip to Los Alamos, a place steeped in history, because that's where during World War II, more than 6,000 people came together to work on the Manhattan Project, which helped create the atomic bomb, which played a role in bringing an end to World War II. I think the movie Oppenheimer made it a little more crowded than normal, and the volunteers and staff were full of a lot of interesting stories about those times. If you're going to ride the 16-mile Paseo del Bosque bike trail during Balloon Fiesta week, try to get there early so you can catch the morning balloon launch. We hit the trail about 8:30, and many of the balloons had already landed, but you could still see a fair amount dotting the sky. While it's not a Rails to Trails project, this trail is one of the most beautiful urban trails in America, and it combines all the best parts of Albuquerque in one scenic ride. Our next stop was the aquarium in the botanical garden, which conveniently was right next to where we'd parked to ride the bike trail. This is what happens to you if you spend too much time in the tank. Well, it isn't a day without motorhome drama. So what's today's motorhome drama?
Oh, a water pump and the check valve in the water pump. Our city water is filling up our freshwater tank and overflowing. So, fortunately, we have an appointment tomorrow to fix it. Unfortunately, it's an ongoing saga of problems.
It's a good thing I built in a little bit of slack every day, because if we had less time, in any of our places, we'd be messed up. Our whole reason for stopping in Albuquerque was the Balloon Fiesta, and we went to the incredible Evening Glow event.
Now with the flame.
So, what do you think?
I think it's really cool.
I mean, look at all this stuff going on back there. We're doing a 360. Yoda's going up somewhere behind me, right about now. I think he's right there, over my head. We're 110 miles from Monument Valley, and we've just spent the last hour and a half to 2 hours on the bumpiest roads we've ever been on. It's like being in a blender. Not sure if you can hear the motorhome cranking and creaking.
Beautiful place, beautiful day, out on the trail, which of course I like, taking the Bronco.
Monument Valley may look hauntingly familiar. That's because it starred in a number of Hollywood movies, from John Ford westerns to Easy Rider, Con Air, Back to the Future 3, and many more. The park entrance is in Utah, but the most familiar rock formations are in Arizona. The Sacred Heart of the Navajo Nation is home to between 30 and 100 Navajo people, depending on the season. We took the self-guided drive along the 17-mile scenic road. As we round through the valley, we passed various rock formations like the East and West Minton Buttes, standing tall and proud in the vast desert. This is Forrest Gump Point, the place where Forrest stopped running. Horseshoe Bend is a 270-degree bend in the Colorado River. It's absolutely beautiful, but you're going to need to hike 1.5 miles to reach this overlook. One of the most photographed destinations in the Southwest are the magnificent slot canyons on the Navajo Nation. But you can't go without a Navajo guide. We explored Antelope X, a hidden gem that rivals the beauty of the more famous slot canyons. And away from the crowds in the more popular canyons, Antelope X lets us soak in the beauty of carved sandstone in peace, an unforgettable highlight of our trip. The next stop on our trip was Bryce Canyon in Zion, and when we looked at the weather, it was going to be a bit colder. It was going to be like in the 40s at night, and we thought we better check out our heat and make sure everything was going to work. When we turned on the heat, we heard clunk, clunk, crash, crash, bang, bang, and turned it right off because it did not sound good at all. Closest we could get service was Phoenix, Arizona, so that meant we couldn't go camping in Zion and Bryce as we had plans. We decided to take the 2.5-hour drive from Page to Zion because it was unlikely we were going to be back in that area anytime soon, and we had another day or two before we had to head for Phoenix. Driving from Zion's east entrance to its west entrance was absolutely stunning. The road winds through towering sandstone cliffs, vibrant red rock formations, and the famous checkerboard mesa. Passing through the mile-long Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel was a highlight, with its carved windows offering glimpses of the dramatic scenery outside. It's a drive where every mile feels like a postcard that's come to life. When we got to the parking lot at the visitor center, it was jammed. We drove around for about 45 minutes because we wanted to get our bikes off and ride up the road. That was one of the only ways we thought we could see things. It didn't work. Because we were already on the west side of Zion and it was only another hour to go to St. George, Utah, we decided to go to Snow Canyon State Park. The scenery is so spectacular, it's been the backdrop for Hollywood movies, including The Electric Horseman and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We decided to ride the 18-mile bike loop. It's a mix of challenging climbs and exhilarating descents, making it as exciting as it is scenic. The peak altitude is 3,960 feet. If you traverse the entire trail, you'll go 18 miles with 1,050 feet of vertical gain. It was a little bit of a challenge, I'd say. For both of us, that's a miserable hill. Phoenix was never a planned stop on this trip, so we were stuck there for a few days. And it didn't take long to figure out the problem with the furnace. It was missing its guts, and the parts we needed would take a week to 10 days to arrive. Well, we didn't have that much time. And we were so frustrated that we had yet another repair with this rig that when the service writer asked if we wanted to check out their inventory, we said sure. And 7 days later, we hit the road with a new RV. Let's just say we haven't looked back or missed the old one. Since Phoenix wasn't on the original trip, we had to arrange our camping accommodations, and we found this RV resort, which was really nice. We took a morning to bike 17 miles on the Real Salado Trail, a beautiful route that takes you through both urban and natural landscapes. The trail runs along the Salt River and offers views of the water and surrounding desert. The trail was peaceful and quiet until we got closer to the airport, but there we could spend time watching the planes take off. If you're looking for something to do, there are a lot of things at the boardwalk. An aquarium, Ripley's Believe It or Not, and a bunch of other activities, and there's a Pop Stroke nearby, which has the world's best, or at least in our opinion, the world's best tuna nachos. We'd already canceled Zion and Bryce, and we didn't want to miss the Grand Canyon, so we left our RV at the dealer and drove up to Flagstaff for a couple of nights. We wish we could have camped there, but it wasn't practical to drive the RV all the way up there and then back down to Tucson. We jumped on our bikes and rode the Grand Canyon Greenway, which was 13 miles in total. Winding through Ponderosa, Pinyon, and Juniper Forest, we not only had a rimside view of the canyon, but we also saw a herd of elk hanging out on the side of the trail. People have told us that this is the nicest of all the KOAs. They had an on-site restaurant and everything else you could imagine. It was a beautiful place. We stepped back in time to the days of the Wild West in the town Too Tough to Die, walking the same streets where legends like Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday once roamed.
Wait out with that! Don't shoot! I don't have a gun! No, I just like to miss.
With a high of 98 degrees, we hit the trail early so we could beat the heat and explore the Relito River Park Trail, which is part of the Chuck Huckleberry Loop. We cruised 8 miles along this scenic path before it transitioned into the Cañada del Oro River Park Trail. This trail offers a peaceful ride through the heart of Tucson's desert, with stunning mountain views, desert plants, and a wide, smooth path. We went another 8 miles down that trail and then turned around and headed back. On the way, we decided to check out the west side of the Relito River Park Trail, but we hit a snag, a dead end near a mall. So we'd have to navigate through the parking lot, a busy 4-lane road, find a bridge back to the east side. It was a little bit more adventure than we'd anticipated. But in total, we clocked 38 miles, and it was a beautiful day. The last piece of the Chuck Huckleberry Loop that we rode was the Santa Cruz River Park Trail. We only took an 8-mile ride because my bike didn't charge the night before. There was a trail closure that forced us to cross the river, and then we weren't very excited about the ride on the other side. Home to the iconic saguaro cactus, some tower over 40 feet tall. It's a stunning place to see these desert giants up close. We drove the 8-mile Cactus Forest Scenic Loop. It feels like you're exploring a landscape straight out of a Wild West postcard. By the way, you can bike this, but there's a lot of uphill riding. Old Tucson was built for the 1939 movie Arizona, and it's been used as the filming location for more than 400 movies and television westerns since then. Little House on the Prairie was filmed here, John Wayne starred in 4 movies here, and the final scene of Tombstone with Kurt Russell was filmed in front of the hotel. McCain Loop is a popular road ride on the west side of Tucson. The Loop Road itself is about 4 miles long, but you can connect to North Kinney Road, but it's a very busy road with small shoulders. About 20 miles into New Mexico, we hit a dust storm. Visibility was probably 3/4 of a mile, sometimes less, and it was pretty constant all the way to Las Cruces. White Sands was on our way to our next campsite, so why not stop? And we were really lucky we got prime RV parking. We took the 8-mile scenic drive that leads from the visitor center to the heart of the gypsum dune field. Carlsbad is a fossilized limestone reef that was part of an inland sea that existed about 265 million years ago. The trail down into the cavern was the equivalent of climbing down a 75-story building. I think they said it was 1.25 miles walk down, but don't worry, you can take the elevator back up. And then it's another 1.5 miles if you walk the Great Room Trail. Roswell wasn't quite what I expected, but we did go into the International UFO Museum. That was kind of fun. Our ride on the Trinity Trails took us from Forest Park to the iconic Stockyards. The smooth, scenic trail winds along the Trinity River and offers great views of the city skyline, and there's plenty of shady spots to cool off. Arriving at the Stockyards felt like stepping back in time, with its rustic charm and rich cowboy history. We rode about 18 miles round trip. Of course, when we got back, we had to jump on the little train that ran from the zoo through the park. We had rain in the forecast, but we took a chance and set out to ride the Arkansas River Trail. We started on the west side and cruised into downtown Little Rock, crossing the river at the Clinton Library. On the way back, we decided to stick to the east side, but a stretch of unpaved trail turned into a muddy adventure thanks to the rain. This trail features the Big Dam Bridge, which is the longest pedestrian and cycling bridge in North America, stretching 4,226 feet across the Arkansas River. We stopped at the Clinton Presidential Library and hung out in the Oval Office and Cabinet Room. We checked out many of the over 100,000 artifacts, even Clinton's famous saxophone. Rain, rain, rain. So no biking for us in Memphis, but we did really enjoy camping right next to the Mississippi River. We hit the Stones River Greenway so we could have a fun ride along the river. This trail winds through parks, under shady trees, and even past some cool historic spots. It's a smooth, easy ride and a great way to stretch your legs. We made a special stop in Afton, just so we could ride through the longest unlined rock tunnel in the U.S. and the third longest rail trail tunnel in the country. It stretches an impressive 4,273 feet. After 41 days, 5,500 miles, and countless unforgettable stops, our cross-country adventure comes to an end. From epic bike trails to unexpected detours, flat tires, and new adventures, this trip had it all. We saw mountains and deserts and rivers and cities, proving there's no better way to see this country than 1 mile at a time. And thanks for riding along with us. We hope this journey inspires you to hit the road and make your own memories. And until the next adventure, keep the wheels spinning and the road calling. See you out there.